Reggie Gibson, a spoken word intellectual, whom I granted the rare privilege to be in the introductory part of my spoken word album, Infinite Regress, once said, and I quote, "Here we are in the city of stars, somewhere between Venus and Mars, short-lived hominids bipedally moving about, doing our best just to figure it out. Here we are in the city of stars, somewhere between Venus and Mars, short-lived hominid doing our best just to figure it out."
So we order 4 shots of raw Jaeger while the bottle pours. Think of how it's gotta feel when you...
Hey, what's up? Welcome to yet another session of Science Dudes. And like I said last time, it's like I'm failing to be consistent, but today, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are back in the streets. And as usual, the streets gives us a difficulty of wind. But anyway, what can we do? We just have to work with what we currently have.
It's called science.
Yeah, it's called science. But we don't want the science to have to happen somewhere else, you know. So in today's episode, I just want to talk about no science today. I just want to talk about how this spoken word series that I'll be doing, it's called Misconstrued Paragons, where I'll be talking about a lot of historical figures who I feel have been slightly misunderstood due to various biases that involve religion, involve cultural constraints, involve societal makeups that make it slightly hard to understand some of the great achievements these people. It would be prudent to start with Charlrs Darwin, because he's one of the people who sparked intellectual dynamite, which is still at the heart of a very great controversy, which I practically think has been settled, but due to these biases I mentioned prior to my saying this, that's one of the primary reasons. So I decided the effort these poems will be doing is to highlight that these people are supposed to be celebrated and accorded the right recognition. So I realized Darwin was a perfect selection, considering the fact that he solved one of the biggest questions of life, one of the biggest mysteries. But even if he actually solved it or actually postulated a better explanation to things, there's still all this misunderstanding and this bias that just covers over everything he did because of his biological evolutionary theory, which is like a contentious issue when it shouldn't be, really. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna try to talk about that in the poem. I'll talk about his background, I'll talk about what kind of person he was, I'll talk about the difficulty that he went through in painstakingly putting his theory of evolution by natural selection. I kind of break down into that theory what it entails. And one of the biggest problems when it comes to evolution is every average person thinks they understand it. That's one of the biggest problems. Because of that, they feel excused from actually doing the adequate research that they should do to actually figure out that, look, you don't even get the point. You don't even understand what you're talking about. This poem will be about that, and I'll try to write it in a strategic way where I don't actually put out everything, so that I should leave room for people to do some further research about it. And some of the books that I'm considering while writing this poem is a book by Michael Shema. I don't know if I've pronounced his name right, but something like that. And his book is called Why Darwin Matters. And also another book. It's like I'm co-reading these books. Of course, that requires a lot of time, but I'm cherry picking through the data and trying to pick out the points that are vital. So the other guy is Corey. It's called Why Evolution is True, and then he gives out he gives some thought-provoking cases to actually prove the truthfulness of the theory. And so I try to pick through those papers and all that stuff and try to write through something that I think won't only be informative but equally educative. Like I said, it's a series. It's a series. Not the series, dude. Not the series.
I see you. Spherical terms.
Yeah, spherical terms. It's more like a series of spoken words. It's called Misconstrued Paragons. So Misconstrued Paragons Part 1, Charlrs Darwin. Misconstrued Paragons Part 2, William Tyndale. Misconstrued Paragons Part 3, Francis Bacon. Misconstrued Paragons Part 4, Albert Einstein. Stuff like that, you know what I mean? And I want to pick all these guys. I also have one about Galilei, and Nicholas Copernicus. In conclusion, just one interesting thing to make mention of. So recently, it was just discovered that there's phosphine in the clouds of Venus. Now, what that means is not that there's necessarily microbial life there, but phosphine is actually a very strong biosignature. A biosignature is basically an indication that there could be microbes working on a particular chemical which have produced something that makes people speculate that there could be life there. They're not necessarily well evolved, intelligent life like something that we have down here. Maybe just tiny microbes. Who knows, with probably some sort of biological chemistry happening in there. But the debate as well is that, look, phosphine isn't just produced by microbes breaking down phosphorus, but chances are that they could be produced by non-biological processes like geochemistry and other stuff. Shouldn't be in a rush to draw conclusions that we have found life, but it could be actually an exciting thing. And this is something I actually made mention of in the previous session, and I think this is an interesting thing. One last thing, panspermia. Panspermia, some theory suggested by a Greek philosopher called Anaxagoras, if I pronounced that correctly, said, look, the life material that we have here on Earth came here by meteorites from space. Yeah, it's like, just consider the Earth like an ovum getting like saturated, getting, what you call that, and
Fertilized
with meteorites. Panspermia, you know what I mean? Yeah.
When a
so,
baby is born.
Yeah, you know, phosphine thing turns out to be hardly true. Then panspermia theory has got some more evidence to it. Because if it's there, then there could be like some chemical stuff in space coming out. But anyway, this was all about today's episode. Catch us next time with my good friend Nicholas. Dude, don't you want to do that so that they can just see who shoots the
Next time, bro.
Alright, man. Alright.
With your chitter yap and kick back and handle the shot. In a couple years you won't believe you medicine spots, so you should take a picture.